talks about him because this man was absolutely vile. Albert Fish was a dirty, disgusting old man, and I hate him. He was born in 1870 to his 32-year-old mother and his 75-year-old father. Considering how old his father was, it's not shocking that he died when Albert was like 5. And his mom, now left as a single mom, couldn't take care of him, so she put him in an orphanage. Very sadly, he was unfortunately heavily abused in the orphanage. This book I have describes it by saying the orphanage had been a training ground for Fish in the perverse, sexually, and in every other way. And in what I think was an effort for him to cope, he actually started enjoying the physical pain of the abuse. About 5 years later, his mom was stable and did take him back home from the orphanage, but at that point, the damage had kind of already been done. On top of that, his family did have a history of severe mental illness, so he was kind of set up to fail from the start. When Albert was 12, he started a relationship with a boy who introduced him to drinking urine and eating feces. And that became his thing. Any obscene, disgusting fetish you can imagine, this man had. Literally the only one that seems to be missing is bestiality, so at least he has that going for him. By the time this guy was about 20, he started SAing young boys. He did get married through an arranged marriage and have 6 children. So yes, unfortunately, this man has a lineage. So even through that, he continues to SA young children, specifically boys. And at this point, he develops an obsession of self-mutilation, specifically his parts. This man committed a lot of sick crimes that I simply don't have time to go over. But the really big one happened in 1928. This couple named Albert and Delia Budd placed an ad in the paper looking for a job for their eldest son. So Albert Fish responds to this and shows up on their doorstep one day. Now, he was well dressed and he claimed to be wealthy, and he offered their son a job on his farm. And this is just so fucking sad. When he went back to pick up the son to bring him to work, he meets the family's youngest daughter, 10-year-old Grace, and takes a liking to her. Now he tells the parents that his niece is having a birthday party down the street. Can Grace come with me while I wait for your son to be ready? And this is the 20s where everybody's incredibly trusting, so they let him take her. And to nobody's surprise, they never see her again. And they trusted this guy so much that they didn't even call the police until the next day, when he obviously never brought her back. 6 years go by. The detective on this case was so dedicated to finding this man that there was not one day in that 6 years that he did not dedicate himself to the investigation. He actually spent 3 months in the hospital because he collapsed from stress. Until one day, Delia Budd got a letter to their home. I'm going to show it very briefly and you can pause it, but viewer discretion, it's incredibly disturbing. Long story short, the detective on this case was so incredible that through handwriting samples, he was able to track this letter back to Albert Fish. When he was caught, he did talk about what he did to Grace, and it is too vile and disgusting for me to say on here, but it includes mutilating her body and engaging in cannibalism, amongst other things. He never confessed to any other killings, but was suspected of killing about 3 to 9 or more children. He was sentenced to death by the electric chair, and I will end this video with this sentence.